Folks, today we have a lot to get into when it comes to Metroid Prime, not just Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, but also the long-rumored Metroid Prime 2 and 3 HD. For Metroid Prime 4, there is something interesting going on with the ESRB rating for this game, and how it actually might indicate that the game is a little further off than we were hoping for, but also it could indicate that it maybe is closer, and it is a Switch 2 game, but we'll get into that. There's also been some talk from a reliable insider that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 HD on Nintendo Switch are not happening, which I have some thoughts on. I also need to give my opinions on the trailer itself. I figured I would just wrap it all into one big video. So if you are new here and you enjoy Metroid Prime content, Nintendo Switch 2 content, all that fun stuff, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Alrighty people, welcome back to the channel. I hope your afternoon is going well. I wanted to hop on here and just talk about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and also these potential remasters one more time, because we saw the game. We saw it in action, the most we've seen of a new Metroid Prime game in the past 20 years. We finally got a deeper look at it on Thursday in that Nintendo Direct, and honestly, the reactions to it have been a little mixed, I think. I think there may be some disappointment from some people that they didn't save it for the Switch 2 Direct, if it even is going to show up there. We'll get into that. But also, the way they've been showing this game hasn't been that exciting. I gotta be honest. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but the way they've been showing it hasn't really been, I feel like, scratching that itch for a lot of people. It hasn't really been blowing their minds. It looks like more Metroid Prime, which is great, but I do think the marketing has been a little off. But we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Let's talk about this whole ESRB situation. So my friend Abram Buhner from Lost in Cults, but also Backlog Banter, noticed this. There is no ESRB rating, which doesn't inherently mean bad news or good news, but it is interesting, especially when you look at how Nintendo usually has ESRB ratings for games that are coming out very soon, based on when they announce them. To me, the fact that this trailer starts with a rating pending either indicates it is a late 2025, even if it is just a Switch 1 game, based on the timing for past Nintendo ESRB ratings, or, and this could be the good news, it indicates that it actually does have a Switch 2 version, and maybe they didn't include the ESRB rating, or they haven't updated it on the page yet, because if they did, usually games that are multi-platform have both platforms or several platforms listed on that same page. So the thinking could be that maybe we don't have an ESRB rating for this game yet, because if they did, well, it would spoil that it is coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Just to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, Prime Remastered, that was Shadow Drop, so obviously that had its ESRB rating at its announcement. But something like Metroid Dread, that had its T rating at its reveal in June. It came out in October, so 3 to 4 months there. But usually if a game is coming out within 2 months of when they reveal it, we have an ESRB rating right then and there. And the thinking for a lot of fans has been that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will either be a launch title for the Switch 2 or release very close to it. And we all kind of are in agreement that's happening in either May or June. So the fact that this game doesn't have an ESRB rating right now is definitely a little suspect. Carrying on, I mean, Origami King, that was announced in May, came out in July. That had its ESRB rating when it was announced, so 2 months there. Clubhouse Games was also a 2-month window. Endless Ocean Luminous last year, that had its ESRB rating, and that came out 2 months after it was announced. So if Metroid Prime 4 is releasing that soon, it would stand to reason that it would already have its ESRB rating. But the fact that it doesn't could be seen as bad news for it releasing even in the first half of 2025, which I think is what a lot of people have been expecting for this game. And listen, this isn't like necessarily concrete information on like, oh, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond not coming out anytime soon, because once again, they could show it at the Switch 2 event next week. It could have an ESRB rating there, and maybe that's just why they didn't show it, because it would reveal that there is a Switch 2 version based on how ESRB lists games on their website. Although it is a little weird, because there are sometimes games on multiple platforms that have their own separate ESRB pages, but far and wide, they usually are all condensed into one thing. So that's my running theory. It's also possible that in the middle of April, it gets an ESRB rating. We saw this happen with Mario Wonder, where that game was announced in June of 2023, came out in October, but it didn't have its ESRB rating until the end of July. So maybe we're just a few weeks away from an ESRB rating popping up. It is just a little peculiar, right? If we're all expecting it to be a May or June game, the fact that it doesn't have one right now could definitely be seen as a bad sign, in my opinion. Ultimately, for me, I am still pretty confident that there will be a Switch 2 version of this game, especially after what we saw on the website of them referring to Switch 2 Edition games as its own separate thing. I think there will be a Switch 2 edition of this game, and it will release before fall. I don't think we'll be waiting until October, November to play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I am not as confident as it being a launch title anymore based on what we saw, to be honest. I do think maybe this is just like a July game, like a month after or something like that. But I don't think we'll be waiting, 8 more months until we're playing Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, before we talk about the rumor suggesting Prime 2 and 3 are not happening, I do want to give my thoughts on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, this new showing of it. It looks good. It actually looks really good, especially visually. I mean, this is going to go down as one of the best looking Nintendo Switch 1 games. You can tell it's a Switch 1 game. Some of it looks a little crunchy, but Retro definitely knows what they're doing. They know how to make a very visually striking game. The art direction here is awesome. The big new focus of this trailer was the psychic abilities. I think these are going to make puzzles way more engaging in the overworld, solving them. It just looks really cool. Visually very striking with the like neon psychic aura around Samus. Her new suit with the third eye is awesome as well. I like this one part where you can see Samus doing a backdash. One of my biggest hopes with this game has been that they'll speed up the combat quite a bit, because I gotta be honest, I definitely prefer 2D Metroid, and I've always preferred 2D Metroid because it is way faster. I think Metroid Prime is a little too slow for my liking, personally. I know that's not the wide opinion, but more sped up combat, that is what I'm hoping for here. All I really need to see from combat at this point is like a melee counter or something that makes it a little bit more breakneck, a little bit faster to play through, and I will be completely sold on this game, because visually, lore-wise, this new planet, this tree planet, world tree thing, all very cool, definitely into what we're seeing. However, that being said, I do think it's worth discussing, because I've seen a lot of posts about this on social media. I do think this game has had some pretty bad showings so far, especially if Nintendo wants to appeal to a wider audience and get more people interested in Metroid Prime. I don't think they've done really anything at all to make this game look appealing to people that don't already like Metroid or Metroid Prime. They've actually done a bad job of that, I would say, like an outright bad job. They've done a great job of showing that it's more Metroid Prime, which is good for Metroid Prime fans, but that's not like that big of a market, right? Metroid Prime is one of Nintendo's more niche franchises. Not everybody cares about it. Even Prime Remastered, I think, sold, 1.5 million. Metroid Prime isn't this huge thing, and I don't think this game is necessarily showing anything that'll get new people invested in it. Be that from a gameplay perspective, a story perspective, really any angle you look at it, I don't think this game is doing anything to get more people in. And I guess I'm a little surprised. This might sound like a no-duh thing. Yeah, it's more Metroid Prime, but after so long without a new one, I mean, it's been almost 20 years since Metroid Prime 3. After so long, I thought there'd be some exciting new hook, something that really separates Metroid Prime 4 Beyond from the rest of the pack, and maybe that new thing could be an exciting new mechanic or elements that would get more people interested in the games, but there really doesn't seem to be anything that exciting about it inherently from like a gameplay perspective, which, once again, it's more Metroid Prime, that's good, but to me, I love Nintendo because they're always trying to innovate and create new experiences. And I think for most Nintendo franchises, that is true. Almost every time there is something very specific and unique about each entry for each game and every franchise. But with this, I mean, the psychic abilities seem to be the hook, but the way they showed it, even though I think it's going to be fun and my mind's, racing with the possibilities of environmental puzzles and all that, the way they showed it was really bad. You have this announcer being way too serious, being like, Samus can open doors.
These powers allow Samus to operate mechanisms and to open doors.
Why is that exciting to people? Who cares? So I don't know. I mean, I think the game's going to be no less than great, maybe even amazing based on Retro's pedigree, but the way they've been showing it, I don't think has really ensued that much confidence in me, and I definitely don't think they've done a good job of showing newcomers to Metroid why they should be interested in this if Metroid Prime didn't look good to them to begin with, which evidently is most Nintendo fans because Metroid Prime doesn't sell that well. So I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I really thought there'd be something specific, some sort of big hook. I don't know if that means open world. I don't know if that means another gameplay mechanic thing. I'm not sure. That was up to Retro to figure out, and it looks like they maybe didn't figure it out, which is, it has me a little worried. Once again, I think the game will be great, but I was really hoping this would be the big break for Metroid to make it a more popular thing. And after seeing this trailer, I don't think so. I really don't think that this is going to be a Metroid game that even maybe sells more than Dread based on what we've seen so far. It could be that they're saving whatever the big new exciting thing about Prime 4. It could be that they're saving it for another trailer, maybe in a Switch 2 Direct or some sort of future trailer where we get the release dates. But I feel like if they had it, they would have done it now, since this is the second time we saw the game. I don't know. I'm excited for the game. I think it looks good, but I don't think it's really that exciting, which I should not be saying that. And then finally, let's talk about these new posts over on Twitter from Nate the Hate, talking about Metroid Prime 2 and 3, as well as Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and the fact that he thinks they're not happening at all. So we had this person, Powder, say, do you think sometime we will see Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3? Nate the Hate replied, at this point, only if they hit Nintendo Switch Online for Metroid Prime 2 especially. Someone else replied, feel the same way about Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and Nate replied, yes. And I find this very, I don't want to say troubling, but it is weird. You've seen time and time again on the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo has been getting all of the old entries on there before a new entry to get people ready. It happened with Bayonetta, it happened with Pikmin, it was a little bit more sporadic, but it happened with Xenoblade Chronicles. Based on how they've shown Metroid Prime 4 Beyond so far, and based on this, which sounds like we won't be getting Metroid Prime 2 or 3, I don't know, the vibes are a little weird. I really thought that based on how long Prime 4 had taken, they were going to make this huge push for Metroid. Maybe not literally as like a Switch 2 launch game or something, but even beyond that, even if it was just a Switch 1 game, I thought they would do more to make this feel appealing and get people excited about the brand in general, and it really doesn't seem like they're doing that. Prime 2 and 3 are such an easy win, even if they didn't remaster them to the scale that Prime 1 had its remaster done. Just putting them on the eShop would have been such an easy win. It would build momentum and hype for Prime 4. So to hear that they might not be doing them at all is disappointing, I guess. Not because of the rumors. Always take rumors with a grain of salt. And I mean, even take this rumor with a grain of salt. Maybe Nate will be wrong about this and we'll see Prime 2 and 3 announced in the near future. But just based on how they've been doing this for other franchises, getting people caught up, given that Metroid Prime is one of Nintendo's more story-focused franchises and lore-focused franchises, you would think getting Prime 2 and 3 on there before Prime 4, it was just a slam dunk, man. And it doesn't sound like that's happening. And what Nate says here, that he thinks they might come to NSO, specifically Prime 2, that has me scratching my head even more, because I do think we'll get GameCube NSO, and I do think it's possible that like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are dropped on there. I've been on the not getting Wind Waker or Twilight Princess bandwagon for a while. I made a video about that a while ago, so definitely check out that. But Prime 2 being on there has me worried, because then what does that mean for Prime 3? Unless we get Wii NSO, which I wouldn't expect. I don't think anybody's really been talking about Wii games being added to NSO. So if we get Prime 2 on a GameCube NSO, I feel like that kind of just means Prime 3 gets the shaft almost. Like we won't ever get Prime 3. Or maybe years down the line when we eventually do get Wii NSO in like 2032 or whatever. But if we just get Prime 2 on GameCube NSO later this year or next, and then Prime 4 is, before that, and then Prime 3 happens way later, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like the cohesion here, because there is none. I really expected like a pretty straightforward ramp up to marketing, like we saw with Pikmin 1 and 2 HD, where those games came out right before Pikmin 4. And maybe Nate's wrong, and maybe we do see that, but I don't know, man. The vibes have definitely been a little bit off for Metroid Prime 4 ever since they showed it. So I feel like the reaction within the community, even of like some hardcore Metroid Prime fans, they feel a little disappointed that like they're not doing something new to make newcomers excited, which means the game likely has a ceiling of like 5 million units, which would still make it the best-selling Metroid game, let's be clear here. But I don't know. I just feel like everybody kind of expected more from this entire marketing thing, but it almost feels like Nintendo just wants to get it out the door and be done with it. That's the impression I'm getting right now. So we will see. Maybe it shows up on April 2nd. Maybe they have that big new hook I'm looking for. Maybe Nate's wrong and we see Prime 2 and 3 and the lead up to Prime 4's release, but the vibes are off. I'm curious what you all think in the comments down below. I'm trying not to be too negative, because I do think the game looks good. I'm excited to play it. I'm excited to, I guess, whip out the Wii and play through Prime 2 and 3 finally. I was holding out hope for a Switch port, but I guess I'll just play them on Wii. I'm excited for Prime 4. I think it looks really good, but I guess myself and many others were expecting a little bit more out of this grand return from Retro, who has not released a game in 11 years, right? But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? What do you think of this whole ESRB situation? Do you think it means the game is further off than we would like? What do you think of Prime 2 and 3 likely not happening at this point in time? Very surprising for me. And of course, as always, subscribe here for more Metroid Prime content, Nintendo Switch 2 content. Subscribe to my other channel at It's Amiibo for more collecting videos. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and click on one of these two videos to listen to me ramble even more about Nintendo. I posted a Rhythm Heaven Groove video earlier this morning. Definitely give that a watch. Until next time, folks. Peace.